when you're on the track and you're ready to run and the gun goes off, what do you think of?
What do I think of?
Yeah. What is it what is like the gun goes off and then you just go. But do you have a vision? Like it's very nerve-wracking. Like for
Yeah,
us who's watching you on the world stage, you know what I mean? And when that gun goes off, it's like I'm an athlete myself and I ran the 200 and the 100 in school.
mhm.
When that gun goes off, it's like, do or die at that point. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it's similar. It never changes. But I think for me, you just want to focus on your race, focus
Hmm.
on what you're supposed to do, especially in that moment.
Yeah.
Is you want to, whatever strategy or whatever focus or whatever plan that you have, I think you want to focus on that and executing to the best of your ability. Now, where it gets interesting is like throughout the lead up, throughout the games or the meets and all that, you always want to. Well, for me, is always about focusing on just trying to represent, everyone that's affiliated with me, whether it's stakeholders, whether it's family, whether it's community, all that. You want to go out and do your best and try to make them proud. So, yeah, leading up to it, yeah, obviously you're thinking about those things, right? As to, okay, how am I going to perform? How are people, following the races? Are people knowing, what channel it is, what time it is, to make sure that everyone can tune in and do all those things. So yeah, leading up is always a little bit more, I would say, not nerve-wracking, but is a bit more surreal when you kind of look at everything all that's there in stake and how much you want to represent and to kind of make everyone proud, especially in that aspect, in that small aspect, as well, not a small aspect, but an aspect in sport where you have something where people could galvanize and people could come together and support. So sometimes, yeah, it feels like a little bit of a responsibility to go out and always kind of perform at a certain level because the expectation is always there. So yeah, going into those meets is a lot more interesting in terms of navigating all those emotions and all that. So yeah, but the race time is focus on the plan, and just try to execute that in that moment for that 45 or whatever seconds.
Yeah, it's interesting because, you train for 4 years for that one moment in time. And it's like anything can happen on the day of. It could
Hmm.
be the wind is a little too strong. It could, you have so many people, false starts and all that. But going back from the beginning, you were 14 when you won your first race. So how did that feel? Did you even realize that, this is something that you could do professionally?
Yeah, I remember there was a games called the CUT Games, Caribbean Union of Teachers Games. I think that year it was in St. Lucia, I think. And that was my first time actually leaving the country on a plane, on a Liat Dash 8, all of that. That flight felt like 10 hours, even though it was just right there in St. Lucia. So that was my first time of going out and competing internationally. And I think I was about 13 at the time. And just having that experience, especially when you see on TV, you see Jamaicans, you see Trinidad, folks from Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados, Bahamas. You see them all on TV and you're like, okay, well, hopefully, especially at that level, maybe somebody could get there,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And just looking at it, going out there and competing. I think it was at games where it's almost like you're doing all the events.
Hmm.
I remember I was doing the 400, the 200. I think I won the 400. I got second in the 200. A Jamaican beat me in the 200. And like I said, I won the 400. So I was competing against, like you said, all those guys from Jamaica, Trinidad, Bahamas, Barbados, all the other Caribbean countries. And I think it was from that moment where it was like, okay, like I'm at that level. In terms of just natural ability, like we're all at that level. So now it's about just kind of focusing and just using that as a platform and a springboard to propel me to try to do well. So from there, I think in 2006, my first year in my hometown club called Speed Zone. That was my club in Guelph. The coach at that time was Coach Albert Joseph. And he coached me throughout my whole youth career. And from there, from coming out off of that games, I was like, okay, let me start taking athletics very seriously. I'm not going to play too much football anymore. I'm not going to play too much cricket. No, not too much basketball. I'm just going to focus and zone in on this one sport. And I think
Yeah.
that's when it kind of hit me and to kind of, like I said, open my eyes, not just to go in, whether it's to the Olympics or anything, but how many opportunities it could open, like coming up to the US, getting scholarships and all of that. So it was I would say that was the first time I had, where I felt like, okay, this could be something great. And then we mentioned 2007 at World Youth. I think I was 14 at the time, and I was running against, athletes that were 16, 17, right? So
Yeah, you're 14, you said were you
yeah,
13 or 14?
I was 14 in 2007.
Oh my
I think
goodness. Wow,
I
you're
was still
like,
14. I was
yeah.
14 going on 15.
Yeah.
I think that was in Ostrava, Czech Republic, where we had the
Wow,
World
Czech
Youth Championships.
Republic. Oh my goodness.
So yeah, so I was competing against all those guys. And maybe as I was young, maybe it's just some naivety in it, where I was like, I don't know how this is gonna play out. I don't have to think too much, just run. And yeah, and I had good performances. I got a silver medal in that World Youth Games at 14. So, like I said, all of that was just more evidence of, this could be something that I could be really good at. And from
Yeah.
there, like I said, at home, you have Carifta games, you have
Mhm.
PBS for sports, you have Intercall.
Yeah.
Intercall is always a big deal in Grenada,
Yeah.
so like I said, you just kind of go from strength to strength with there. But, it was a lot of factors that came into play, a lot of people that were in my life at certain points that really helped me, whether it's just advice, whether it's just, like I say with my club, all of that stuff. So there's a lot of, people that are influential in terms of making me reach where I'm at today. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's a wonderful experience. And looking back, I could only be grateful and humble that I've had all of that in my life.
Yeah, no, it's amazing to watch you. And for me, I've been watching the Olympics since I was a child, and I've always love track. It's one of the most popular events at the Olympics. When we talk about the summer games, you hear the announcers. There's like, we know you were waiting for the track event. Like,
Oh yeah.
this is it. It's because we're looking at the times. Who's going to beat the times? Like, even for you this year, I believe from what I heard, I don't know if it's true that Usain Bolt is going to be in Paris watching the games, like he's been competing, and this is the first time he's actually going to be a spectator. So I'm pretty sure a lot of people are going to be watching. It's the world, right? But going back to what you were saying about, the people who were part of your journey to where you are now and not realizing it. Because when you're young, you're like, I can't believe this is happening. When did you realize? I think was it before you made it to London that you realized that, that there's some potential for you to make an impact or even compete at the international level. You know what I mean? Like against the world, you're at the world stage.
Yeah, like I said, that was always, like I said, since 2006, 2007, there was always a potential,
Right.
potential because you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
How you nurture that talent is always going to dictate how far that talent goes. So even then, there were even conversations about, the Olympics or World Championships and all that. So
Mhm.
there was always, I wouldn't say expectation, but there always, the potential of all that. And if you
Right.
remember, like I've always, in 2008, I was in World Juniors, got a silver medal there too. In
Mhm.
2009, I was in World Youth. The second time,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
16, 17, and I won the 400, won the 200 there. 2010 World Juniors, I won the 400 there. So there was always like a very, I would say, prolific progression with me when it comes to, going from the youth level, going up to the senior level. And 2011, when I went to World Championships, and I won that. And then the Olympics was following the following year. Obviously, there's even more expectation. So like I said, it's always been there. Even when I was in World Juniors in 2008, I remember I was competing against guys that were already in college. So,
Wow. That's so
so yeah,
amazing.
yeah. So when I went there in like 2010, when
Yeah.
I went to University of Alabama, like I was seeing some of the same guys
Oh my
that I competed
goodness.
against in 2008. So
Mhm.
like I said, it's always been there. Like I said, I'm just grateful that I've had a lot of people, in my life to help me. Like I said, my club coach in Grenada,
Mhm.
Albert Joseph, my college coach and professional coach, Harvey Glance, and then just there's so much people in my community that helped me. And even like I said, then the expectation and the support was always there. So yeah, it wasn't just, like, you just aiming for 1 year in 2012 or whatnot. There was just always a nice progression going from
Yeah.
level
Mhm.
university,
Right.
then